Guitar Players Planet. You see it in the papers, you read it every day. The riots and the fire going on in South LA. The muggers and the government, they're all wanting the same thing. They take you for your money, whatever spring. Well, I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. Take me.
Hey everybody.
Good evening.
Hey.
What's happening,
Another
everybody?
Wednesday.
Oh, there we go. Now we got the
Another
four.
Wednesday.
Oh, look, we got some new graphics. I think we got rounded edges and
It's snazzy.
Jason is Jason is muted again.
That's on purpose. Nobody wants to.
He does like the mouthy mouth. He's
Your
like,
graphics are so amazing.
It's very, very cool.
It's so cool.
But I do have to write a trouble ticket because the corners aren't rounded. It's not matting the corners of the frames.
Yeah, I was going to say
everybody's
something, but I
week?
figured I wouldn't.
How's everybody's week? How's everybody's week? My week right now is windy.
Everybody's
but
week was
productive.
You know what? Listen, it's the first time in weeks that it's been clear skies 3 out of 5 nights here on Long Island, and I don't have a telescope. So,
yes, you do.
So
Don't give me that shit. You have one.
no, I don't have a telescope in my possession.
You do.
Although there is one waiting for me. Tyler was nice enough to let me test, and I know we spoke about this on a couple shows back, the FCD 100 versus the FPL 53, and let's see if there's any difference visually. So, and see if it's really, really, really worth it, or really, really, really maybe. so he sent me one. That's actually waiting for me at the shop. What's that?
I don't notice a difference. I think you're just wasting your money on the FPL 53, personally. But, I mean, it's everybody's opinion.
You just want to sell me that FCD 100. That's all you want to.
No, sir, that is not my intention. I'm getting you away from the esprit.
Nah, yeah, you know what? I got the 120 still coming. It's
That's
still on
what
the
you
way.
keep saying.
I actually got an email. I got an email from Ed McDonough from Celestron, who runs all the shipping for Skywatcher, and he said they're still on track for the end of this month. So it looks like the 120 and the Antillas, who I just got confirmation from OPT that should be at the end of this month as well. They should both be coming at the same time. So I pulled the trigger. I called up Tom Bramwell today, and I'm getting the 3-inch Asado for the Esprit. So
Stupid.
So that's on its way. Why is it? What do you mean stupid? Why is it stupid? What EAF?
Stupid.
Why is it stupid?
Stupid. I'm not using it yet. My Nightcrawler will be here, in fact, the 15th of next week on my 120.
But mine's a third of the price.
Yeah, but I'm getting better product.
I don't know what to do. What?
You have to have 35 different adapters to my one. Mic drop.
Eric's muted.
Eric's muted.
Eric can't
Eric's
hear
still
you.
muted.
Can't hear you, Eric. Hold on.
Thank you. I was just saying.
There we go.
If this is normal between these two, because off air, this kind of crap happens all week through Messenger.
But that's part of what keeps this fun and interesting.
It does.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Scott Cole's not on here. Scott Cole, I'm on one side, and here's Scott. I'm here, here's Scott. Just talking. And Simon's sitting up here on the top, just digging in on the top as well. It's fun to pick on Dan. It really is. It is.
You know what? I don't have my smart moments very often, but I do every once in a while have them.
But when you do,
it counts.
Oh, when I do, they're good though. But,
so Dan, you were without a telescope. So you have no imaging to share. What about and Tyler? Yes. We talked about this.
Yes.
So you don't. What image do you have? Any imaging to share from the past week from your adventure?
How about for the past 3 months? how about since he got his first telescope and now he owns 5 and it's yet to get first light on the first one?
It's 6 actually. Thank you.
Hold on. Can you, Jason, just mute him.
Hey, welcome Northwestern Ontario Astronomy Club. Welcome, guys.
I saw that.
Hey, what's going on? No, I picked.
We got Spencer too. Spencer Collins out there.
Yeah, Scott.
There's our buddy Scott. He's already talking about stuff. He's already stirring the pot. My buddy Frank's on from Long Island too.
Oh, nice.
So
good.
Nice. Okay. Yes, I did get some images. No, do I have anything to show for it? No. It was more for testing purposes to see how I would like the ROI. Believe it or not, Mark Ellis has a little bit of a heart. I'm talking little. He sent me his 6200 to try out because I've been kind of curious on full frames in general, and that's what we're going to talk about today is there a significant difference between getting full frame versus APS-C size sensors in the current market today? But that's for later discussion. So Mark was kind enough to let me borrow it. I finally got some clear images or clear nights. I got my mount as well. So I shot M1 Leo's triplet. It's the only ones I mainly stuck around.
Okay.
I didn't do the flats or biases because I couldn't get WBPP to cooperate, and I wanted to strangle it. I ended up having to go through Deep Sky Stacker to get the darn thing to stack. I don't know why. It just wouldn't stack. It had to do something with my calibration frames or something. Framing was nice. Been busy. Been busy. I was able to use the what is it? The diagnostic channel. I saw everything and I got it to work. It's just for some reason it would work for a minute and then it would just kick it out. I couldn't remember the actual error message it gave me. Which I need to get with Dan and figure out what's going on. And again, I think it was my calibration frames not taken properly, more than likely. That's what I'm going to pin it on because, yeah.
Did you?
But anyway,
when you do WBPP, do you have the log box checked off? Save the logs.
Probably not, to be honest. Probably not. I don't.
No, that's okay. But just for for troubleshooting purposes, there is a checkbox on there, or it might be they might have changed it to the general preferences, and you could save the logs when you're done.
Yeah.
And through that, it's basically your whole your profile explorer, the history explorer, the process console. Screen.
Oh, you're
that
good.
actually, because you can only go so far back on that window. Unfortunately, you can't go back very far. But the log will save everything from when the process starts all the way till when you save it next. So it's a good thing to kind of save that just for troubleshooting.
I'll remember that. But all in all, the image, I think I could get a better framing with APS-C size sensor. Do full sensors have a place in the astrophotography community? Yes. I think it would probably be better either in something with higher focal length. That's just my opinion. I mean, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Because with APS-C size sensors, with the particular targets that I shot, I think that the ROI would be a lot better and within those cameras on those particular targets. And again, I'm not sure. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. To me, I think that full frames would be better in higher focal lengths, personally, just to capture all that nice detail. Go ahead, go.
Now, when you say higher focal lengths, you're talking, what? Because when I think of higher focal lengths, I'm thinking
anything that's in the 1,000 range.
Okay. Okay.
Higher focal length, longer focal length, not shorter.
Longer focal length. Okay.
Longer focal length. Yes.
Gotcha.
I think you'd be able to optimize the actual chip because I think that was the 6200 is like a 9,000 by 6,000. I think.
Yeah, it's something crazy. It's like 15 million. It's 15 million pixels.
Yeah. So I think to optimize the full potential of the pixels would be something that I can just go out and touch. Dan, I don't know if you have a biased opinion on that, or Eric or Jason. I don't know a
biased opinion. I think you hit some of the nail on the head where you got such that when you have a full frame chip, and if you take a look on either Telescopius or what was the other one that we use? Astronomy.tools. If you take a look at that and see the smaller objects, like let's say if you're shooting with, like what I've been shooting with a 400 millimeter scope, if I have a full frame sensor on, let's say Thor's helmet, like Eric's been doing, Thor's helmet is going to be tiny. It's going to be super small because there's so much field around it. It's going to get lost. And I think what Tyler was trying to say was that with the longer focal length, you could get those smaller objects, have that magnification, and still have that field around it. Whereas if you had an ASPC with a longer focal length, you got to squeeze everything in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what is it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think APS-Cs can manage some of the longer focal length a little bit. But you'd have to get it had to be a tight, like Leo's triplet. If I use the 120, it's a nice framing. It's around 850 millimeters of focal length. I can get all three galaxies and then some, but it's got a nice ROI. Everybody knows that ROI is region of interest. I call it my return.
Not return on investment.
I call it yeah, that's it. That's what I call it. Yeah.
But that could go either way, and that was one of my discussion points with Tyler on it. Was it's great, but right now, so little of the hardware actually supports the full frame cameras well, because you're usually getting vignetting. For me, it'd be better to let the costs come down for 6 months, whatever it takes for the manufacturers to catch up.
And you're out. You're out again.
Hopefully by then the price will have dropped a couple $100, making full frame more reasonable.
The problem is, by the time that happens, better sensors have already come out. Personally. Because leading to discussion, full frame versus APS-C, is we had customers call in today, or at least a particular customer call in today. Says he had the 6200 monochrome, was wanting to know if a particular fill flattener focal reducer would work on said monochrome camera. I told him, no, just wouldn't work. Could you use it? Yeah. Is it going to work? Probably not. The reason being is most fill flattener and focal reducers that are on today's market do not work for full frame cameras. Now, that I've seen, at least what I have on hand. Are there some that can adopt a full frame? Yeah. They're going to be expensive as hell too, because they're going to be huge. Because the manufacturers aren't adapted enough to accept M54 throughout the whole train. They're all M48, and that's as far as they go. That's why with Precise Parts or Ron over at Moonlight, they are able to make said adapters $250 plus to accept the full frame capabilities. But then you have to figure filters, which Mark Ellis, you need to pay attention to this. Full frame does not work with 2-inch filters. It does not work.
No.
I don't care who you are, what person has told you saying that they do. They do not work because the 2-inch filter does not cover a 36 millimeter frame. Does not work. Your corners are going to be vignetting. If you're okay with that, go for it. Most people that use full frame hopefully understand this because they're going to crop in anyway and not really optimize the full frame capability. That, again, I'm going back to why I think full frame has a stable platform in higher focal length telescopes, because they're really getting in on the target. They're really getting like the Eagle Nebula. You get a really good shot of the pillars of creation and fully optimized. What was it, 150 million megapixels on that one, Daniel?
Something like that.
On the 6.
The 9,000 by 6,000? No, it's a 54.
54. So you're really optimizing that thing to the fullest capacity on something that has a long focal length that can punch through, that can get there and can see those pillars, and you can get all the details that you want. My opinion. But 2-inch filters do not work with full frame cameras. I don't care who you are, what stuff you're smoking, or whoever tells you they do. They're wrong, they're wrong, they're wrong. They do not work. I'm done.
And that was Tyler.
Well, I think it all has to do with your image circle as well. Also, I mean, even with your full frame. I mean, if you don't have a lot of people get telescopes that don't even have the image circle to fill a full frame,
or they don't even know what a full vignette in or a full vignetting out. They don't know it. They don't. Right. They don't even know what the hell that even is.
And I think that would be a kind of cool option if they kind of had that option on, like, let's say
we have that
on an astronomy.tools or a Telescopius that will show the vignetting on your setup.
What you can do, well, no, you can't even factor in. Now, I know on our website we provide that set information for our telescopes.
For Explorer telescopes, yeah. So
correct,
but
not
if
very
you were
many
able
people
to,
do it, which I don't understand it.
I don't think, as far as I know, I don't think anybody does, except for Explorer.
They don't. Well, I've noticed through different manufacturers, some manufacturers provide an interferogram with their telescopes. Some telescope companies don't. I don't know why. From what I've gathered, is if someone provides them with an interferogram, which is all an interferogram is just a picture of the lens cell that the manufacturer takes to let you know what the ratio is, the straw and the wavelength. From what I gather of it, I don't entirely know for sure, but to me, that kind of leads the customer in choosing what telescope they want. And I understand why some manufacturers don't do it, because then the customer's constantly sending back product saying, no, I want a better interferogram. No, I want this better. No, I want that better. And it's a constant thing. And I'm surprised that Williams Optics does it, but I'd be nice to know what their SOP is as far as, have you ever had customers send back telescopes because the interferogram does not meet their standards, in a sense?
I was actually just looking at the WO website, looking at the red cap. I have the white version, and it's supposed to be able to. It has the imaging circle, so it can support a full frame camera. It's supposed to be able to support a full frame camera. So,
no, I'm sure the image circle was it 43. Was it 43 millimeters for it?
Yeah, 43.26.
43 millimeters. I think that what Tyler's trying to say is that those 2-inch filters won't cover that 43 millimeters.
No, it won't.
Yeah, it won't work. So you need like a 50 millimeter filter.
It will not work.
And
even 54 millimeter is like just barely eking.
What's that?
54 millimeter circle.
I think you still have some vignetting, but it's not going to be even close to as much as the 2-inch. So 2-inch is going to.
You'll hardly recognize it on 54 millimeter.
Yeah.
Circular.
I mean, George is asking, what's the point of full frame?
What's the point?
George?
Yeah.
I personally, my opinion, the only time I'll ever use a full frame is on a DSLR when I'm doing wide field photography on the Milky Way.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Honestly, astrophotography, I don't.
I was actually going to bring that up. Is that would probably be the only time that I would probably even, because I don't have a full frame camera. Period. Don't have DSLRs or anything. But if I was able, if I was going to purchase a full frame camera and use it for any type of astrophotography, I'm in agreement with you, Tyler. It would be for doing some wide field Milky Way shots. That's the only way I can see really using.
Well, and that's why when I was using the 152, I did 90% of my stuff with the 2600 APS-C camera, one-shot color.
That's all you got.
Well, no, because I have the 533.
That 533.
I used the 533 to act like a focal enhancer, basically like a doubler, because I was looking at a smaller field of view within that purview, within that ROI.
Right.
So I was using my cameras opposite of what you're referring to, so that I was using the camera to then look at a narrower section of space based on the region of interest of the lens capability.
Gotcha.
So that's more of what I would steer people to look at doing, because to me it's a better investment in the overall hardware.
I mean, and that's where I see full frame can be optimized, is in astrophotography, the DSLR related, until the telescope industry catches up.
Yep.
Because shoot, DSLRs have been full frame for 20 years. It seems like.
Well, even larger, because you have medium format digitals as well.
Yeah, medium format. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I just picked up y'all are gonna hate me. Picked up an ASCAR 400, which I got to do tests on, and a 24 millimeter 1.4.
No, that was your picture. He's leaving. He's done. He's gonna go walk the dogs. He'll be back in a little bit. He's gonna
I'm gonna leave it up too.
I picked up a 24 millimeter 1.4 just for Milky Way shots for the Canon RA. That's the only reason I'm using the DSLR.
How many of these things are you gonna get, man?
I'm done.
All
I'm
of them,
done,
Eric.
I swear to God.
I'm sorry. Just
done.
so we keep the tally record straight, that is now Tyler's 7th telescope without first light. So,
whatever. I put 120. The 120's got light.
At least first light he can prove, because you know what, Tyler's been talking all this stuff about M1 and the Leo trio and all this lovely targets, and you know what? It's kind of like getting a hole-in-one when nobody sees it. You know,
Show me the money. Show me the money.
What money?
He is.
Oh, backdoor deal.
He just keeps on buying equipment.
Hey, you got to buy it when you can. The thing is, I've heard a lot of people complain about a lot of people are starting to complain about the 400 ASCARs.
Really?
Which I've got to do. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Gary Palmer. He's noticing, and he's from, is it Zoltan that's over at 365? Or whoever's over at Sharpstar. They're noticing some weird aberrations within the stars. Not really pinched optics, but more of like tube fluctuations from temperatures. And he's kind of curious if I would notice those like, well, Gary, once I get clear skies for about 2 weeks, I'll let you know, because I'm clouded out.
I mean, I really haven't heard that. I sold Jason one. I mean, I've sold a bunch of people ones.
Well, and maybe I can take some of Jason's. Well, maybe I can take some of Jason's data, but remember, he lives in the UK, and their weather is just weird over there. Sure. And it could have just been a bad batch on telescopes as well.
It definitely could be, because there has been some sharp stars that have gone out, whether that be the 400 or if you do the CDK that's out. There have been some issues. However, there are issues with every single type of telescope, and you're going to have, some that just come out that just are no good. But the whole thing is that what's the percentage of those group? Is it 75% of them are crap? I haven't seen that. I mean, I actually sold one to a guy, and I'm not going to mention his name, but and he doesn't even care if he left. And he is the most. He's a professor at Brookhaven National Labs. He's an amateur telescope maker, and he's done a whole bunch of stuff with the ASCAR 400. And he just got the 600, and he is the most discerning person I've ever met. I mean, it's almost to the point of annoying, but he knows his stuff. And he actually had a board fluorite, and he was having some massive, I know you've probably seen it, like purple stars from the Borg and some issues. It was very, very weird. And he picked that out. And the ASCAR, he's taken some awesome pictures, and he hasn't even complained once, and that's just one out of 1,000 that we've sold. But I'm just saying, I haven't heard anything about any optical flexure or tube flexure or some aberrations. I've yet to hear.
Yeah,
that.
I think it's mainly tube. You know how you can kind of get pinched optics because of tube temperature, tube fluctuations.
Sure.
And it is possible. But it's very hard to figure out, to decipher where it's coming from and what it is. I mean, you start with just the pinched optics lens cell itself, and then you have to work down that way. I've definitely ran across it, and it's like, how the hell do you tell? You can't. You just have to do the process of elimination and just go that route, and that's the issue.
And that's one of the things that I wish the ASCARs would have done, is went carbon fiber. Because I think that because to me it would have alleviated a lot of the issue, which is why I'm such a fan of carbon fiber scopes. Because I don't have that temperature fluctuation.
Crickets.
Yeah, right?
Crickets.
You're like, oh, whatever.
This comes from the guy that lives in Arizona, where it goes from 85 degrees at night to about 30 at nighttime.
Oh, so we get a 30-degree swing every night. 30-degree swing every night. Minimum.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have that. I mean, Eric and I don't even think you have that, Tyler, as far as those type of fluctuations.
Right now it is. Hang on, I can tell you real quick. We've had that type of swing.
Change it in the season right now is probably happening. It's probably a more common, at least at this time of year.
So Monday is going to be 64 degrees high. The low is going to be 39. So we do have that flux. I mean, Eric can attest because he's in the central as well, but he's more up north toward the Kennedy, and he probably has a little bit bigger of a flux, to be honest, because he's in the windy. He's in the windy shindy.
Yeah,
windy
I'm over here
over the Chicago area. Doppers. But I mean, Dan, you're just in subarctic cold. I can't help you.
I don't know I don't know where I live.
You live in Antarctica.
You know what I mean? We have fluctuations, but they're more gradual in New York, on Long Island. They're more gradual. They're like, we've been having them recently because, like what Eric was saying, we're in that part of the season where one day it's going to be 30, the next day it's going to be 70. So we're in that that turnover from winter to spring. That's a big problem in all across the country, no matter where you live. If it's Arizona or New York, it really doesn't matter. It's just a matter of how much that flux is, and are you able to take advantage of the carbon fiber tubing because of your temperature fluctuations, as opposed to some that doesn't have those fluctuations. And another benefit of carbon fiber, of course, it's a weight trade-off. And if you have a mount that you're just barely on the cusp of, and you need to cut 5 or 10 pounds, you could easily do that depending on what carbon fiber you get compared to an aluminum tube.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. So like I had the 152 for 3.5-4 months, and then Tyler sent me the 140. There's only 4 pounds difference between those two scopes, and there's a 1.5 foot difference.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's
and
900.
It's much, and it's 4 pounds lighter.
Yeah, it's insane. But I did finally take some first lights on it, put it up. I was just doing a quick test on Horsehead the other night when we had 30 seconds of clear clouds. And then last night I shot M51. Haven't processed the images because I've been busy today.
How dare you?
Well,
Spencer's asking a question here. He says, is the temperature flux more of an impact in colder temperature or higher temperatures, or does that not matter?
Temperature flux is temperature flux. I mean, you're going warm to cold no matter what. The variation of warm to cold is different, but
and Astroback Playground's also asking, the diagonal on a full frame sensor is a 43.27 millimeter. That's a little less than 1 3/4. How much is a 2-inch? How is a 2-inch 50.8 millimeter filter not covering that sensor?
Because of how far it is from the sensor.
It's not a square.
There's a or is it a difference? Are we talking mounted or unmounted? Maybe that's also a little bit of a difference.
Well, it also depends on the problem with ZWOs, or not really ZWOs, but full frame in general, is the adapters. Not very many people carry the M54 adapter. And that's I'm trying to wrap an older gentleman that's been in the visual aspect of it in astrophotography. He's like, because he's done newspaper business his whole life. That's all he's ever done. He knows cameras inside and out. He's like, why doesn't an M48 work? Like, because of vignetting. If I put an M48 adapter on a full frame camera, I'm going to get vignetting no matter what I do. You're going to have to get specially made adapters or things that are made for full frame cameras that are M54 or bigger to alleviate or get rid of vignetting. The problem is telescope companies are not there yet. There are some telescope companies that are there, but you're going to pay a premium for that merchandise because it's a niche market.
But you know who sells the M54s, right?
QH what?
Prima Luce.
Oh, good God.
So the other metric here.
I thought that's 54 millimeter adapters.
The other part of the metric that's not been mentioned yet is the fact that we've got our backspacing issue. So most I'll speak to the ZWOs because that's what I know. So just from the surface of the ZWO where you can thread on an adapter to start your back focus, I'm already 16.5 millimeters from that plate to the sensor, which is now casting. You're working in a cone. So by the time I thread on a filter drawer for this example, the filter drawer is putting me out where I am now to the filter about 27, 28 millimeters. Now I'm eating into that cone. I'm narrowing that cone that I'm going to be able to use. Take and add in the additional 30 some odd, I'll say 32 millimeters of back focus that I'm going to, or 24 millimeters of back focus I'll need to be able to get to my 55. I've now further narrowed that cone. So the only way that you're going to see is that vignetting because of the distance that you have from the sensor. And the only way to fix this is like what they've been saying, go to a 54 millimeter filter. Mounted, preferably, because it's easier to swap out, easier to maintenance.
Sure.
But even then, you have to get them as close as humanly possible to the sensor, which is still going to be at closest 25 millimeters.
Still too small.
Yep. And I mean, it's like.
So what you guys are saying is going back to your point, Tyler, is that the telescope manufacturers have to start catching up and making, wider adapters.
And I don't even want to say that it's telescope manufacturers, because most of the people that are making these adapters are not the telescope manufacturers. It's the third-party vendors.
That's true. They're all third-party vendors.
They're all third-party vendors. It's the ZWOs, the QHYs, the Starzonas, Primaluce.
I go back to my gentleman, the older gentleman in the group.
What I'm saying is this, especially if you're talking not just the adapters, but also perhaps your field flatteners and your reducers and your focal reducers that are actually manufactured by those telescope companies. They may have to expand those as well,
So, case in point, the gentleman, the case in point, I go back, two things I'll touch on. The gentleman that called in that had the 6200 monochrome wanted to use an FFFR. I'll just use ours. The Explorer Scientific is obviously that's where I work. And I told the gentleman that was handling the call, it's not going to work. Don't care who you are, it ain't going to work. Reason being, we only have an adapter that only goes to M48. So if I have a camera sensor here, filter wheel here, and then my freaking FFFR, this hole better be huge, because I have to get through the filter wheel, filter, camera. And if it's not big enough, I'm going to vignette like a crazy. I'm just going to vignette. There's no way around it. And I think that's now to my other point. I think that's what's confusing my. I'm going to call him my older mentor. He's been a part of my astronomical society, or I've been a part of an astronomical society for years, and he's been there forever. He's like, why won't an M48 work? Like, because it doesn't. It's just you have to get your mind away from M48. Yes, theoretically, by math, it does. It should cover, but it doesn't, because the adapter, the opening of the full frame camera is 54 millimeters, so you don't vignette at the corners. He's like, that just doesn't make sense to me, because a full frame sensor is 36 millimeters. I was like, I understand your point, makes perfect sense, but it doesn't work in astrophotography. He's like, I don't get it. It's like, that's why you do your own thing and I'll do my own thing. Because if you're not going to wrap your head around it, you're not going to get it. Because and that's what I kind of push the company into doing. It's like, you have to future proof. There's no way around it. You need to go above 54 millimeters, or a 54 millimeter adapter, where you're not setting yourself up for success. As Jason mentioned, there are third-party companies that are making those progressive steps. They're taking a little bit. That's why eventually they're going to have to catch up. And then guess what? Who else has to catch up and get on that bus? Telescope industries. They're going to have to eventually catch up, because if they don't, they're going to be left behind, and then we're in crapshoot.
Yeah, I hear you.
Exactly.
That's my pitch. That's my pitch. My pitch. Done.
That's a good point, man. Good point.
Now,
why is Mark Ellis sending me a picture? Mark Ellis is sending me a picture of something.
Nope, I'm not. Don't open it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm not sure what it is.
What is it?
No, I don't want to see it.
It's probably his OSC.
It's a camera.
Okay.
Might be the 6200. I can't tell. I just see the chip. But
it's the ZWO filter drawer on the 6200 OSC.
No, you can't see it. You can't really
that's
see
the picture he sent me.
That's the full frame. I know it's a terrible picture because Mark doesn't know how to take a picture with light. That is a full frame sensor on a filter drawer. You already have it.
See, my picture doesn't look like that, man. I think it's your crappy camera. I think it's your crappy
it could
phone.
be. It is an iPhone.
Hold on.
Here, hold on.
I'll fix it.
Show it to us, man. It was on Facebook Messenger.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm pulling it down.
He's on the phone with Mark now. Mark's yelling at him.
It's 80 clicks. So.
we go.
Okay, so there it is. There's
Yeah.
the picture he sent us.
Yeah.
So what that is...
So that's the filter. I see the filter drawer now.
So the filter drawer is going to be the ZWO. So it's the ZWO. I'm willing to bet that's on the 6200 OSC, judging by the color spectrum showing up in the sensor.
Right.
Even that at 54, it's still hitting the edges of the chip. There's still going to be vignetting, which is what Tyler was saying.
And that's 54 right now?
That's a 54 millimeter filter drawer. Yep.
Wow. So you got to go 60. Oh, man. And those filters are stupid expensive when you go over 2-inch. They're crazy. They're expensive at 2-inch. I mean, but they get really stupid after that. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's a great visual, though, to give you an example of how, even though that it's 50.8 millimeters, that how when you try and put a round surface on a square chip, it doesn't work.
Well, and again, it plays into that math of the cone of light. You know, that's going to be blocking part of your cone of light, and even if you put it in a 3.5-inch draw tube, you're still filtering that light. You're still narrowing that cone. You're going to get vignetting. And I honestly feel, even if we went to a 62 millimeter at the $1,000 or whatever it's going to be per filter, you're still not going to gain enough ground to justify the expense.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the heart of the conversation. APS-C right now is probably the safer bet.
Yeah.
Because we're getting very high resolutions in the APS-C cameras. We can do it within the 2-inch mounted filters without having to go ridiculously expensive. I don't want to say astronomical because that's kind of what the field is. It just all works out to what do you want to invest in. So.
I'm just looking at a picture.
So you said Mark says that's a 2-inch filter sitting on a 6200 mono.
Yep. Medium format. APS.
What did I miss?
Oh, just us spouting off about the that.
Yeah.
So Mark was correcting me. It's a 48 millimeter, so 2-inch filter drawer setting over top of the 6200 mono.
Yes. That's a 48. So 54,
that's a 48.
54 may work if you open up that cone then.
In theory.
No, because okay, so I use the 6200 obviously that Mark gave me with the M48 filter slider drawer, just like he has. I still had vignetting in the corners.
What we're saying is if you used a 54 millimeter filter and filter drawer, then we wouldn't have the issue.
Again, third-party companies have to get those, and I know of one right now that's doing it.
That has it.
That has it.
Who is that?
And they're an hour and a half south of me.
It's Arizona.
Yeah.
They're the only one that I know of for sure.
But I don't think that they have drawers for 54 millimeter filters yet. So they're all still 48 millimeter filters. So they have a 54 on either side of the opening, but the drawer itself is still 48.
It's 48, but you're still going to get vignetting.
Yeah. So you're still
again, I go back.
And you're still
I still go back to my point. Manufacturers won't get there yet, at least for a couple years.
Yeah.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sticking with my four and the third. I'm sticking with my 1-inch and
your MFT.
Yeah, my 4/3 and my 1-inch sensor, and that stuff.
Well, and so I come from a photography background, so I only now shoot with full frame cameras for my DSLRs. I started there with my Astro imaging. It was not a viable solution for me for three reasons really. One, they're not cooled. Two, you have a lot of fun trying to deal with barometrics, and not every manufacturer really publishes the barometrics that it's using. Mm-hmm. It happened to be I was using Nikon, which uses primarily Sony chips. Sony is almost always an RGB Bayer matrix. So you can kind of assume, for the most part, that they're going to be an RGB matrix. But because they're not cooled, you're limited to how long you want to shoot without getting a ridiculous amount of noise. So everything's got a trade-off. You just have to figure out what's the best option for your budget and for your current configuration. And for most people, right now, the top end is really going to end up being APS-C with the M48 filters.
Okay.
So
Now,
we yelled at him about his pick, so he did a better pick.
Yeah.
Let me do this.
But
Your PC okay?
So we go back. So I'm gonna comment. So Astro Playground is asking. Oh goodness! So the way to go is APS-C sensor with 36mm filters. Yes, or 2-inch. Well, 36mm.
Well, 36 is smaller than 48, so no.
Yeah,
2-inch mounted or unmounted would be better.
2-inch.
He said 2-inch. Yeah.
2-inch would be better. Filters, you're getting the full sensor covered for the filter, whatever you're using. The benefit with APS-C size sensors, if you're using a mid-range focal length telescope from 800 to 1,000, we'll just throw a number out there. The thing you can do is you can bend, you can change the ROI, return of interest.
Region
you can
of
get
interest.
closer.
Region of interest.
Region of interest. Whatever.
Return on investment. Too much business.
Return on investment.
Too much business talk.
Region of interest, you can bend it, then you go down to what? APS-C is 4/3 sensor at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Two by two.
That's what I have.
Yeah. So you're getting a little smaller, but you're concentrating that sensor into that particular spot. So if you're shooting on something, if you're using the full APS-C size sensor, and it's real far, it's too far to where you thought it was going to be. Bend it, get it closer. If you still don't like it, bend it again, get it even closer. That's the added benefit with an APS-C size sensor, is it will fit most range of targets that you're currently seeing nowadays. Unless you're really like what's the galaxy? Sombrero Galaxy? Mm-hmm. That you really got to get with a long focal length. Yeah, there's just no way around that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, I have the 4/3 chip on the S-Big. Actually, it's a little bit bigger. It's kind of in between a 4/3 and an APS-C. It's not really necessary. It's a little bit bigger than a 4/3, but I use my 36mm, and but my filter wheel is made for the camera, and it's slapped right on the chip, so it's super close to the chip. But I don't have any vignetting. I have zero vignetting at all on a 36mm unmounted with the it's like, I guess, an APS-C / 4/3 hybrid kind of chip. But
well, into what Astro Playground was saying, I get what you're saying about the dimension of the diagonal measurement of the chip. I get it. But if you take and you move and put an M48 or a 36 unmounted in front of it, it's never going to cover the chip because the distance away from it is then affecting the cone of light. So
correct.
You can give me the math all you want, but because of the distance between the filter and the sensor, you're going to have a vignetting. Doesn't matter how you slice it. And that's why you have to have X percentage of overage, especially with a round filter over a square sensor. And until you go unmounted square sensor, or square filters, sorry, we're not going to alleviate the problem. But the problem then becomes the size and sheer mass of the filter wheels that are going to be needed to handle these things. Or we're going to have to go like what we used to do with the slide projectors and ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got even more mechanics to fail. And you're adding in shake.
Yeah.
So Yeah, there's just a lot of mechanics that go into this. It's really a diminishing point of return at this current juncture to go full frame. Everybody, high to low, has to get caught up. Tyler had to bow out a second.
Yeah, he had to take out for a second.
Okay.
Okay.
But does that make sense, everybody?
So, anyway, you guys all know I got my first mono project done.
Yes.
So it was pretty cool, and I'll say I was impressed. With you can tell with the differences. You can actually see some differences.
Oh yeah. You're out again.
You're doing LRGB, correct?
No, I was doing HOO.
HO, okay.
Yeah, I did HOO on Thor's helmet, and
that was Thor's helmet, yeah.
And
yep.
Yeah, and then I'm doing a mix right now and trying to figure it out. I'm actually doing some posts right now of the horse head using a mix of the mono using an HA and the one-shot color 294 using just a luminance filter. So, and putting them all together. One thing I didn't know that until just after I did all this, after I did my session, was how originally ZWO, they apparently set everything up by default on the 294 mono. It was set up to do binning 2x2, and which would basically match what the one-shot color has as far as binning 1x1. Then they updated their firmware, and then now it's and then in Intel, they updated when they did the ASIR Pro, they updated it in there too. So now everything is default now 1x1. So I have to remember to make things maybe a bit easier for myself to remember to do binning 2x2 when it comes to doing the mono if I want to combine them slightly easier.
So do you understand why they did that? They changed sensors to go into the mono?
Yeah, they did.
Which is why they're doing the binning natively at 2x2. And then
Yep.
a lot of people complain, like, you give me all this resolution, you're going to half me. So they went and opened it back up to the 1x1 in that firmware revision that you're referring to.
Right.
Part of me thinks that there's something else in the pipeline that's going to be coming that's going to match the sensor for the 294 color with a completely different sensor. It'll probably be a new numbering algorithm. But I think that they realized, not that there was an issue so much with the 294 color, but at the time it was the best sensor they could get. Now they've got a better sensor, but at twice the resolution, so that's why they bend it. It's actually like 1.7 times. But the bending worked out for pixel pitch to be able to match.
Okay.
So that's why it was done that way.
So yeah, and I was reading about that, and then I saw a few videos. So I got because they went to this different sensor. I believe it's a different Sony sensor, like another, what is it, IMX? What? It's like 4 something.
462.
I can't remember.
I want to say it is, but I'm not 100% certain.
So yeah, so I get that. So, but no, I do love the camera. I think it's a fantastic camera, and I do on it now. I'm starting to see the benefit of what you talk about, Dan, as far as with your S-Big and with you doing monochrome. I do see those differences even with the with doing the previews with the ASIR. You definitely see some differences. If you can put them side by side, you can definitely see it.
Sure.
So no, it was a lot of fun doing this. And if anybody hadn't seen it yet, I'll just show them. I'm sure everybody's seen it on
pop
Facebook.
it up.
So let me just pop it up here.
Yep.
So there it is. So that was my first project. Thanks.
That's a good picture.
So that was my first project. We're using the 294 mono. This is basically HOO. And this is actually using my 12 nanometer optolongs. So this is, these are the ones that I would use for my RASA, because RASA is either you go 12 or maybe at lowest is maybe 7 nanometers.
Okay.
So this is 12, and eventually I'm going to get, some tighter bandpass filters, but I still thought this was fantastic. At least,
for a 12 nanometer shot, that's pretty damn good.
But I thought it was a lot of fun to come out with this, especially, being my first crack at, a mono camera. So I couldn't complain, honestly. I think, and then Simon made the point, he's like, boost up your saturation a little bit, so make it pop even a little more. And that's what I ended up doing. So no, it's come out, kind of fun,
Yeah.
So
yep.
I
can't wait to get my AC. If I was going to take that, it'd probably be about half the size of that in the 80. So I just can't wait till the 120 comes so I could get something decent and crop in and not have to worry about destroying the picture.
I think you mean if it comes.
If it comes. Because you know what? Yeah. Tyler didn't say this. He's been hiding this fact for months now. He actually rerouted my telescope to go to his house.
Oh, here it comes.
Because he called some of his friends. He's got guys. And he decided to make sure that telescope didn't come to him. And that's why he also got the Antillas too before me too. He also
somebody stronger than me.
You think you know somebody. You think you know somebody where you are.
You gotta make him an offer he can't refuse.
And I made him that offer, and he liked it.
And that's what you get when a guy from Arkansas trying to talk like a guy from Brooklyn. That's what you get.
But again,
forget about it.
Who got the results? Who got the results? Who got the results?
Not me. Not me.
But you know what? But getting, but one thing I did learn after doing this, and I had some issues with guiding before I really got this nailed down. And I was using my 127 APO, and I was actually using my small triplet as a guide scope. And great use for a triplet APO is using it for a guide scope. But I was getting what they call differential flexure. And so all of my previous images, you could see some elongation and trailing, and it was all in, and it was really, really frustrating. So I decided to switch over to my off-axis guider. And since I've used that, and since I've moved over to that off-axis guider, and my focal length on that 126 is 980 millimeters. So getting close to that 1,000 point, it kind of made sense to use an OAG. And right now it's been, spot on. So no more flexure or elongation in the images or anything like that. So one thing I would recommend is if you have a telescope at close to that 1,000 millimeter point, if you are getting some elongation in your guiding, if you're using a guide scope or anything, if you're using a separate guide scope, you might want to consider using an off-axis guider to help with that. And like I said, for me, it turned out it's been working really well, and guiding has been great. So I would probably keep that. I'm keeping that OAG on that scope. Period. Then I moved over to 152, and so go after a few things because with spring now, it's coming up. It's galaxy season, so it's going to be fun.
So I'm curious, Eric, what do you think about Pegasus new OAG, their automated one?
The automated OAG? I don't know right now. Personally, I don't see the need for an automated OAG. That's just maybe it may be because I don't understand what it all is, the benefit of it just yet. So maybe it's more flash than function right now. And that's just my opinion until I really see it and am able to maybe play around and work with it or understand, what the real benefits are for me. But right now, I mean, I'm using with this OAG that I've got, I actually purchased the helical focuser.
Yeah.
And I'm using a 290mm mini guide camera, and I'm actually getting round stars. I was for a moment there. I was getting kind of like banana looking stars off the prism. It was kind of weird, but then I figured it out and got it into me using, and it just turned out much better now. So I'm actually getting round stars, it looks like, off of that OAG. So I don't know the benefit. I really don't understand the benefit. What do you think?
I think really it's just for people like myself that are inherently lazy. There's only one person on this show that's lazier than me, and he's not on the screen right now. But
it's what I do.
It's what I do. I can't wait to get one to try it. I actually just tested out the Pegasus flat panel.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see what, because I did hear some mixed reviews regarding that flat panel having like a slightly bluish hue to it, that threw off some of the calibration frames. I'm wondering to see if that happens. But as far as the off-axis guider is concerned, and Eric, since you're the Schmidt guy, if I could get my hands on one, maybe I could throw one your way to see if you could throw that out and test it. Because Well, I think what the basics of it is just an ASCOM loaded focuser for the off-axis guider. I think that's all it is.
Yeah.
You're able. In all fairness, until they figure out how to, you're going to have to use from now. You're going to have to use the third-party software right now, because if you look at either Nina or or even Sequence Generator Pro, there is no drop down for a motorized off-axis guider focuser.
Right.
It may be under focuser number 2 or focuser number 1, but there's going to be an issue there eventually.
Mm-hmm.
If it takes off. I don't know if it's going to take off, but
I don't know either.
I think it's going to be a very.
To me, it's a fun gimmick.
I think it's more, just gimmick than function at this point. So the jury's still out for me. If it kicks, you know what? If it turns out to be a hit and everybody starts adopting it, or it starts getting some really good reviews or whatever, then we'll see. And then maybe like a Nina or SGP, they may start updating and saying, yeah, you can have the automated focuser for your OAG,
the second focuser slot.
Yeah, so they may.
I really think we're all on the same page here as far as saying I think it's a great idea for lazy people, but as far as being a popular new item, I don't think it's hitting the Sky and Telescope's most wanted list anytime soon. But
yeah. So that's what I see. So, but
so Scott,
I can't wait to see some new projects.
Okay,
what did he say?
Jason may have to bring it up into the message board, but he put on the 36 millimeter, because ZWO has a 36 millimeter 7-position filter wheel available. And he's got it actually mounted to the 2600. So Jason, if you have the capabilities of bringing it up, unless you are gone for right now.
No, he's still there.
Are you redhead?
Sorry, I had to step off to deal with a parenting situation.
Oh, here we go with freaking responsibilities.
I know, right? Try telling them I got a show. Nothing else matters, but they just don't seem to care.
Scott Cole actually sent us a picture of the new 36 millimeter 7-position filter wheel mounted to the 2600 just for Astro Playground to visually look at. If you could possibly bring it up, I would greatly be appreciative. And also, Mark Ellis bought a Nightcrawler, so if y'all have crap weather, his fault. Just saying.
So, I am slowly but surely building up the equipment profile of my. Oh, there you go. There's a picture.
Okay.
So it's not bad. It's definitely not bad for 36 millimeter. And it's weird how they mount it, because I kind of struggled, and Jason can attest to this because I had to call him. I was like, I don't know how to mount this thing. Because I didn't realize you had to remove
the ring off.
I didn't realize you had to take the tilt adjuster off. I was like, oh boy. I was sitting there taking the thing off, and I'm like, Jason, I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing.
And I had to go, well, I've never done one of those. So we did it together over the phone through the FaceTime.
Remove tilter via Skype.
Yeah, right? Well, and that's one of the nice things. I mean, Tyler and I have done a lot of stuff, troubleshooting back and forth over FaceTime, to the point where I've actually got a phone clamp on a little light stand, so I can set it out and work on my scope. So that, well, it's not just Tyler. I do it with other people as well. But I do a lot of impromptu pop-up videos for people. You know, I did one.
Mainly for me.
I happen to have done one for you that I've redone and haven't published yet. On how to properly balance and using, because a lot of people with the CM70 and CM70Gs are complaining about an RA off balance, especially with the 70Gs. So I found these little gimbal weights that are 50, 100, and 200 gram increment with a 1/4-20 thread, both a thread and a tap and die side, basically. So you can daisy chain them, connect them together.
Okay. Oh, nice.
For me, it mounts perfectly into the side of the ASIR Pro. So I can put it in there, and that's usually the side that I need the weight. If not, I bought some aluminum channel with T-nuts so that I can take and tighten it into the T-nut and slide it in and out to get the ballast just right, and anchor it to my standard plate with 1/4-20 bolts. But I went through and explained how to do that and how to really work on trying to find that balance. It's a lot of adjust this, try this, keep moving things around until you get it balanced, but you can do it. And, you know, I've done 4 configurations already on my 140 and only imaged on 2 nights. So when it was clouded over, I literally just kept changing out hardware and having to rebalance everything just so that I could get better at it.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea, though, man. That's pretty cool.
Well, because everybody gets these, and I don't want to use the word I've been using for it, but basically it's this really weird cancer that people bolt onto the weight bar, and it's got a little off, you can pivot it because it mounts on the weight bar, and then you put weights out on the shaft. So basically you can do weights off axis of the counterweight shaft. Gotcha. To me, that's not where you want the weight. The weight what you're trying to differentiate is actually on the OTA side, not on the counterballast side. And that's where most people are mounting it. And, you know, there's a reason why you only find that stuff on Alibaba, because nobody really should be using it. There is a market for it. People are buying it, but it's not fixing the problem.
No.
So what I've done is I actually got some channel from Mark and then ended up buying my own channel and haven't used it yet. But basically using this T channel on there so that I can adjust out where that weight goes. So not only the weight, but the distance is going to help me get that ballast just right.
Is that on for the declination?
It's typically the declination is the problem. The RA you can get by just moving the weights up and down.
Right.
But the declination, because you've got gear and it's never just straight on center line. You know, with me, I put the ASIR in a V mount, and then I've got my guide scope, which is usually center mount, and then I've got the off balance for the EAF. Now that I've mounted up a mono system, now I've got the filter wheel, which is then additionally canting the weight to a separate direction. So you've got to counterballast all of these things. Well, that you can get it balanced to the west, you put it to the east, and now it's heavy. So you need to move weight up and out to counterballast that to get it ready so you can get a even weight east and west. So that's the solution that I've come up with that has worked quite well for me in being able to do that. And I've been fortunate so far that most of it I've been able to do by just screwing it into the side mount on my ASIR Pro, because it has a quarter 20 hole, and then adjusting the weights to get everything just perfectly balanced. It takes a little bit, you know, sometimes the hard part with using the filter wheel, because it's attached to the camera, that ballast is always changing, so you're constantly having to move that weight as you rotate to frame. But the nice thing is once you've picked your target, you're typically imaging that target for a couple of days, so your ballast adjustments are for a longer duration.
Okay. The only reason I was asking is because a long time ago I purchased a from ADM. They have a declination counterweight setup, and I didn't. And I was just kind of curious, would that work with that? Would that work with that in that situation?
It could. And I don't see why it wouldn't. I know they discontinued it.
Or like either like a little Smandy, but I think you can use it on a Vixen. On underneath.
Yeah, it's got dual saddle on the one side. It's got the threaded rod in the middle, and you can twist.
That's what I have.
I actually had one of those, and it worked pretty well. The one thing I didn't like about it was, as your night goes on, sometimes that weight turns throughout the course of the night. And it'll slide up the rod eventually. You know, if you don't check it and you're constantly on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it can change a little bit. There's no really locking nut where it's just going to stay in position. It just kind of goes as the thread goes. It can do that. Now in all fairness, I mean, it's going to take a lot for that thing to make a full turn.
Yeah.
You know,
but it will.
It's not good, but it can make a difference. It can make a difference.
Okay.
But if you sit there and use it, you know, on different nights and you take it off, you're turning that thing no matter what. It's not going to be in the same spot. So you got to reweight with that every single time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So let me put the 3U up, and I'll run downstairs and go grab what I'm working on so I can show you.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So weighting, a big thing. I can't wait to actually weight my telescope if I ever get it. Tyler was nice enough, and did I say the story the last? No, I didn't. Last show we didn't, but
no, because you're
Tyler was nice enough to. I'm not arrogant. I'm arrogant. No, stop. A little bit.
This is what I deal with, guys.
No. Anyway,
you don't really deal with it. You don't even respond.
No. Eric just walks out and goes and walks the dog. but Tyler was nice enough to offer his services to kind of take a look at my 80 millimeter, and he took some pictures, and I don't have the pictures up right now because they're on my phone. But there was actually a lot of dust in there that he could not get out of either. It's either in between the cells or not really sure where it is.
It was in between the cells.
It looked like a speck of dirt or something. I'm not sure what it is, but so I called up when he showed me the pictures. I was like, you know what? Let him send it back to me. And when he sent me the pictures, I'm like, oh man, this isn't good. So I got on the phone with Skywatcher, and I said, hey man, I got like a lot of dust in here. You know, I don't know what the deal is, but can you check it out for me? He's like, well, when did you buy it? So, I did get it I got it through OPT, and I went on my OTP account, and it said March 9th, 2019. So I'm like, oh my God. So now it's, what day is today? Today is March 10th, 2021. So the Skywatcher Esprit has a 2-year full warranty on it.
Which I love.
So So I sent the UPS label to Tyler while the scope was in our Arkansas, and now
Arizona.
I believe it's in Arizona now, or California. I'm not sure. I believe it dropped off in Arizona, and now it's over there. So it's going to go all the way around, and they're going to do it for nothing. They're going to do it for free. It's all under warranty. So it went from my house to Tyler to Skywatcher, and then hopefully this week it's going to come back to me, brand new.
So it's taking a straight up cross country trip. Your scope is
well. I got it. What was it? I got it on a Thursday.
You got it on like the 3rd or 4th, I think.
Yeah, I got it on the 3rd. I was sitting there looking at it. I was like, okay, I used some compressed air. Oh, God, it uses compressed air. Yes, I know what I'm doing. You don't shoot it directly on the lens cell. You do it at an angle. Blast it off. Took the diagonal, or not the diagonal, but the adapter so I could go up in the actual tube to get it away. And I was sitting there looking at it. It's like, there's just some stuff in here that I can't get out.
That should not be there.
It should not be there. I'm sitting here looking at it. It's like, I'm not taking this lens cell apart. I probably could, but I ain't gonna. Then I checked collimation.
I actually have the pictures.
Yeah, and collimation was fine. I'm like, you need to call Skywatcher. This thing needs a complete clean. I ain't doing it.
I'll show you when. Let's see.
I don't even know if the pictures will come cleanly through.
Oh wow! Oof.
Yeah, there's a lot of dust between cells. No, that's the worst one. That's the worst. It was a decent size. It was a decent sized flake in there that's stuck between.
Wow, right?
I think it was the last lens cell.
Right there. And then there's one more, I think. There you go.
It was just a lot of micro dust that was in there that I could not get out from either blowing or using an actual optical cleaning.
So they're going to do it, and they'll clean up. So I guess that's from two years of hard work, I guess.
Or not working at all.
No, that thing went through 2 years of good usage. More so this year than last year. Last year it got like some good usage, but this year, because of the pier, that thing was constantly being used. Whenever it was a clear night in 2020, it was outside working all night.
Hey Dan, go ahead and refresh your connection.
Yeah, I got it.
So speaking of, Dan, you've got a pier. I've got a tri-pier. I do have a pier downstairs that I haven't mounted yet.
It's almost season for you to mount it.
It's almost time if I'm going to do this, and I'm debating to do this. What do you guys? What are your opinions on the tri-pier versus a standard pier?
What do you classify as a standard pier?
Huh?
What do you classify as a standard pier?
Like you're
digging a hole that's 4 feet into the ground.
Yeah, like either something that's bolted 4 foot, in that concrete or what have you.
J-bolts and all that.
The permanent pier.
Let's think. You actually bring a good point, Eric, because I've thought about doing this before I picked up the 70G with my Losmandy G11. So I would have to literally dig probably a good solid foundation, kind of like how Dan had his. It's at least 3 to 4.5 feet deep.
Deep. Just to get under that frost line. To get under the frost line.
You got to get under the frost line.
If there's any shift, just the frost line, in case there's a shift anywhere, and all that stuff. And then I got to buy probably, I don't know, an 8-inch sonotube. Is what I've always known them as, is sonotubes.
Yep.
Probably either an 8-inch or a 12-inch. Probably 12-inch just to cover my masons. Depending. It all depends. Depends on what scope you're wanting to use and everything. Rebar. J-bolts.
Yep.
Adapter plate. plus the pier that's over $800 plus that. Yep. And I'm sitting here just weighing out the pros and cons. If I'm already going to spend probably, I don't know, for a 4 foot, we'll just call it a 4 foot hole, probably more than 6 or 7 bags of concrete, give or take. That's not including the sonotube. It's probably, we'll say 20 bags, 20 bags of concrete. The problem then there is you have to build a footer for that.
Yep.
Yes, you have to
build a footer.
So you've got to get a footer base up. You know, the base, you got to open it up before you even put the sun, you know, so it's like it's nuts. Yeah.
And
it's a big deal.
It turned out it's a big deal in honesty. Maybe when I get into my forever home, I can think about it. But right now, the tri-pier is a perfect setup for what I need. I've left it outside, throw a telegizmo over it.
Leave it alone. That's what I do now.
And I leave it alone.
There's nothing wrong with doing that.
I don't have the money.
Nothing wrong at all.
I don't have the money like Dan. They can build a pier.
Well, let's ixnay on that, Mr. Buy Everything. But hold on a second. So now in all fairness, I gotta say now I gotta say thank you to a buddy of mine, Dan J, and he knows who he is. He gave me that pier. I did not pay a nickel for it. He had it in his garage and said, "I am not using this. If you want it, come get it." And
so basically,
somewhere down the road, you know, it's for services to be rendered later, maybe, or for a project to be rendered later.
Yeah,
but I mean, you know,
somebody else.
You know, or whatever the case may be. I mean, you know, it was just sitting there. So I say, all right, it's a $1,200 observational astronomy pier.
Right.
And I was like, listen, you really don't want. I mean, I really feel. You know, I told him I'd pay for it, whatever. And Dan, thank you so much. It's getting so much use. If anything I could do for you, you just tell me, and I'll, you know, whatever. But you know, to a certain point.
Now.
But
oh, there it goes.
But
there's the thing.
I got the disclaimer. You know,
yeah.
But you know, hey, listen. Let me tell you. You know, I got the Star Arizona adapter plate for the EQ6R.
Mm-hmm.
I sent him the top of my pier, and he placed it on there for me at Star Arizona and sent it back to me. I didn't have to do a darn thing, and he slapped it on there for me. All I did was put it back on the top, and I was good to go.
Cut down your bolts a couple inches, and
he cut them down a couple inches, and then I just kind of smushed the whole thing down a little bit. I pushed all rods through the holes that were there, and I got it down to where it's just like because it was, if you guys remember the picture, there was like probably about a foot hole in between the top and the bottom of the pier. And so I kind of mushed it down so I could just kind of a little bit wider than my fist to kind of get underneath if I need to make any adjustments.
Sure.
But other than that, I mean, it's solid. I thank Dan every day, and I thank my wife for letting me put it in the back too. Yeah, you know, but you know.
Well, and that's kind of why I haven't done it, because you know, with the way things are going right now with the world and pandemic and my lack of work. I don't know that I'm going to be here for very long, unfortunately. Hoping I get to stay, but until work picks back up, that's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
But the tri-pier at least allows me the ability to move to a dark site and do some imaging for any length of time. And I also have my CEM40 on 2-inch, the quick lock.
Right.
So, I mean, I have options to stay mobile, and for me, the tri-pier is the best option because I don't have to worry about anything getting wet. You know, it stays out 24/7. I just throw 365 telegizmos over it to keep water off of the mount itself, and mostly off the legs. Like right now, I've got the scope out there, and it's been under the mount or under the telegizmos for a week. So
one of the big reasons why I was asking that is, you know, you see more and more of these tri-piers, you know, coming out. You know, you had an Optron, you know, I think AP has one, several other companies.
Optics made one.
Yep. So there's several of them coming out because they can start seeing the the ease of use and the stability of the tri-piers, versus the traditional permanent pier. Now, Scott did make, and for me, Scott mentioned, something about, he did say, that's why they make post hole diggers. Yeah, that's true. But my thing is this, and it's not me, for me, it's not necessarily getting lazy, but it's also getting older and doing all that work, and even to Tyler's point, this may not, when I get my permanent home, because this may not be our permanent home, and then I know this is where I'm going to be until I keel over, then, because I bought I have an actual Ioptron permanent pier down in my basement that I was planning on mounting, in my and so now you start rethinking a lot of things,
Sure.
So, and tri-piers, they're pretty solid, and I haven't had really much problem with it since.
Just wait till you hit 50, Eric.
What?
Wait till you hit 50.
Oh, so wait, what? 8 months?
Oh shit! That's right. You're not that far behind me.
But see,
whoops,
Eric, you have to learn the thing that I learned.
Like 8 years at least.
You have to learn the thing I learned. There are kids in the neighborhood that are hungry for $20. It may take 5 of them to get the hole finished.
Yeah.
But there are other people that are more hungry for that money than you are for throwing your back up.
I think everybody's seen the picture of what I had coming and digging the hole. So we almost lost a life.
Yeah. He had somebody by the ankles down in the hole.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Well, and if I ever did it, I would probably rent one of the Ditch Witch augers. Because they've got the 12-inch augers.
Sure.
And you can rent them at Home Depot for 4 hours. It's like $150.
Yep.
It's still going to be a bit of work on your back because you got to get 2 fairly strong guys to pick it up and keep up and down to get the hole dug. But
you have to keep clearing out the dirt, as you're going that route. So it's going to still be some back baking work. It'll be
Mark Ellis.
There's a definite benefit of having that rock solid, truly immobile, pier right there. So you set it, it's done. You probably never have to worry about polar alignment again, and if you do, it's probably once every couple years or something, just to check to make sure everything is all good. And
even with the pier though, I'm kind of anal like that. I still check it like once a week. I'm still not comfortable. I still check it because every once in a while, based on the seeing, the numbers are going to change for me. So my seeing sucks. So
Mark Ellis seems to think that we'll catch up to him.
In age only. No matter what, Mark, you're going to be older than all of us.
And Mark says he's got tri-piers both for his 70G and his EQ8R.
Yep.
And
so
you know what?
Something completely
that and if you guys seen Dylan O'Donnell's YouTube that he just did for his EQ8R, I think he has the RH.
Yeah, the RH. That's a newer one. Yep.
It's the RH.
The newer one. That thing is sweet looking, and that's a beast.
But that's the whole thing. I mean, it's a heavy monster. That's not very portable.
It's about a 120 payload.
Yeah, but it's not like your Ioptron where everything's center mounted. You're still your standard.
Yeah,
weighted down.
It's traditional GEM.
Yeah,
right.
It's a traditional EQ mount, and it's a heavy beast. That is not made to be lifted up and brought to a dark site.
No.
That's made to be on a pier forever.
Forever.
Unless if you're like, somebody who has good upper body strength, not like me. I have none.
So, because...
Yeah, we couldn't hear you, Tyler, so that's
right. No,
the question
talking
begs,
to his wife.
should I, if I ever get a forever mount, the question begs, would it be something like the EQ 8RH, or would it be supporting my local, astronomy company, AP, and getting a mount too?
But that's if you stay in Chicago area.
That's if you stay there. So I think when you make that decision on where you want to be and when you want to be, I think things will change by the time you get to move. Unless you plan on moving over the next 2 years. I know. Make that decision when you get there. But I would tell you that I love the Cinta mounts, and that's the way I would go. Because I know EQ mod. I like EQ mod. I know what it could do. I know the PEC prep. I know all that stuff, and I'm comfortable with it. I'm at the point right now that I don't want to learn another. If I don't have to learn another piece of software, as long as I live, I'll be fine with that. Even though I know that's not going to happen, but it's just that right now I've been using Cinta mounts and EQ mod. And I looked, and I saw the picture of my when I first got my Atlas, my first Atlas. The picture came up on my Facebook as a memory 9 years ago. Okay, so I've been using Cinta mounts and EQ mod for the last 9 years. So I'm very comfortable with that. I don't know if I want to go and start learning CPWI. You know what I mean? Or something similar. Some sort of pointing algorithm that it's just what I like and what I'm used to. So if I'm going to get or when we decide to move to the Carolinas, hopefully sooner rather than later. If the plan is I will be putting a dome there, and if I do put a dome there, it'll probably be either in Skywatcher, the EQ8 RH. It will be. Or the Atlas HDX 110, one or the other.
I've never seen what? What is that? I've never even heard of that mount.
It's been around for about 3 years, but they don't sell a lot of them. And if all of a sudden I roll into money when I move down there, then I'll look at the even though it's not Cinta, I'll go looking at the software BISC stuff.
Hey, whenever you're ready to open a telescope business, I'll put in.
But when we're looking at that software BISC stuff,
that's a discussion offline.
Have you guys seen the manual for a Mighty?
That's ridiculous. Those Mighty T's.
This thing is it's an encyclopedia.
Yep.
No.
It's huge.
And not that. No. And you have to get there, and you have to get used to that software BISC platform, that software.
Yep.
Because you got to go through that monster of a book, of a manual.
Yep.
And it's like, you don't know.
Well, the good thing is that the Mighty and the Paramounts and the ME2s and all of that, they do run off of the SkyX Professional. So I'm very familiar with that because that's what I originally used with the Sky 6. And it's very, very easy and very intuitive to use. So the pointing modules that you could get along with, I want to say it's T-Point, if I remember right. It's very good and very easy to use. Now the manual for you're right, Eric. The manual for the Mighty is ridiculous. But then again, if you have any idea on mounts and how they work and that kind of stuff, this is like a reference thing. You're not going to sit there and kind of read how to run Windows operating system. You're not going to read it. You're going to open up to what you need and you're going to reference it. Just like the Mighty, you're going to reference what you need. You're not. I am not the one that's going to read that book. Not going to happen. If something goes wrong, I'll open it up and I'll see what's going on. But I'm not going to sit there and read all 8,000 pages of that book because it is. I've seen it. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Now, I've heard a lot of issues with some Mighty T's, and it's to justify the cost of $8,000 on a mount for an encyclopedia book. That stuff honestly needs to operate at astrophysics level.
I agree.
I know all mounts aren't built the same. I mean, they're theoretically supposed to be built the same, but you know, sometimes it's just somebody's going to have an off day at the factory. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yep.
Somebody's not going to seal something right. Somebody's not going to tighten a bolt the right way. No, we're human. Nobody's perfect. They're not. No factories are 100% automation yet. Unless it's actually polishing glass, then it's 100% automation to take out the actual human error.
Exactly.
To justify that kind of cost, I shouldn't have any issues opening that box. And
I agree.
It
I
should
agree.
clearly
I
come
agree
out
with you
and
there,
work.
Tyler.
And back to your, I've seen Dylan O'Donnell's post. I'm curious why he got rid of the CGXL on the Celestron. I haven't been following along. Was he having issues with it?
Skywatcher is basically, but the Skywatcher, correct me if I'm wrong, it is a Celestron product.
Okay, so there's a little gray area there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little.
Think of it as a sister company. It's a sister company.
Yeah,
think of it that
they're
way.
in cahoots with each other, but they're not the same entity. We'll just put it that way.
It's a sister company of big
companies. It's a shell.
Yeah, it's a shell. It's a shell.
It's a shell.
They're funneling money through Skywatcher to fund Celestron. So and something else can be said also. If you take a look at the Skywatchers, the EQ6Rs, and you take a look at the Orions, the Atlas, the new Atlases, they're the same mount. It's the same exact thing. One's black, one's white. That's the only difference. They're both Cinta mounts. They're both the same software. They both run on SynScan. They're both belt driven. It's the same exact thing. They just painted it differently and rebranded it. So there's a lot of stuff
what I hate about
going
Orion.
on. That's
honestly what I hate.
But you know what though,
Orion.
Yeah, but Orion had the Atlases out before the HEQ5.
I know.
So,
I know.
The other not thing necessarily an Orion thing.
No, it is not. There's a lot of manufacturers that do the same exact thing. The good thing about the Skywatchers is the RH is a different brand is because of the encoders.
Right.
Now encoders offer a lot more precision.
I agree.
For guiding and just for track, just for anything in general. They offer a lot more.
The number that Dylan was showing when he was demoing the guiding, he was like at 0.2, like 0.23.
Yeah,
total
0.2.
Yes, for total.
But in all honesty, and just encoders do that? No. If you know your equipment well enough and you can get your balance and everything precise, to an almost just where it's just damn near perfect, you can achieve the same things. Will it take more work? Yes. But something that's just literally pop open a box, clouds are out,
but
set it up and go.
There's something to be said with the innards of an 8R versus an HEQ5. I mean, you're not, you may be able to get at 0.2, but you know what? You're going to spend 5 days figuring out your equipment and trying to figure stuff out, whereas you're sitting there with an 8R and out of the box, you're starting at 0.5 and you just got to tweak it. You know what I mean?
Not even tweak it. It's just balancing it at that point.
It's balancing.
You don't tweak it.
But you know what I mean.
I mean, if I'm spending $10,000 again, it better come out of the box. It better do more than just guide perfect. You know what I mean? I mean, it's
at that point. And lunch.
Yeah, it better make me breakfast. It better tuck me into bed at night. It better do
a lot of those mounts are
touting
numbers of like minutes and minutes and minutes of unguided photos. So
true.
You got to think about that as well.
But you take something like the
here we go. Here's Debbie Downer over here. Hold on.
No, so I was shocked because the other day I foobarred up. I had my 70G out. I had good balance. I forgot to turn on my guider.
Okay.
I was shooting 5-minute subs and almost all of them were usable. Out of
Nice.
60, I had four, right fingers, 4 that I had to throw out because they tracked.
Wow. See, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's great.
And that's just
And that's not an
that's a
encoder
testament
version.
to the mount.
That's a testament to the mount and getting good balance. And I was, you know, for my PA, I was under 20 seconds.
Okay.
And guiding was at like 0.6.
That's fine.
If I had been guiding. And my average is usually 0.6 to 0.8.
Okay.
That's good.
I mean, unfortunately, I have to send my mount in. I know it's. I'm turning into Mark. I'm just buying a bunch of random crap just to fill a void, which I don't know why.
Yeah, but see, there's one difference between you and Mark, is that Mark's taking pictures.
Oh. Now, I don't want to dig on Mark because he's a good friend, but it did take him 6 months to use his RC.
Well, you know what, Dan? That's the last time I try to call him at your scope. Okay?
Okay. That's okay. Since it broke it and I had to send it to Skywatcher, I mean, that stuff wasn't there before you got it, you know?
Oh, of course not. It just miraculously just appeared between the dang cells.
Yeah. No. On a serious note, though, with that, I mean, I'm pretty meticulous with my scopes and my equipment, just as all of us probably are. And we take our craft, and that's what it is. It's a craft, very seriously, and our equipment we take it more serious. I mean, if something happens, just to even like the smallest piece of equipment, you drop an adapter ring, you're like, you kind of freak out because this is your livelihood. This is this is what you like to do. Yeah. Exactly. So I guess my question is, how does dust like that get in between the elements? If the elements are, I mean, they're glued. No,
they're not. They're not glued.
I mean, I'm sorry, they're airspace. They're airspace. I'm sorry, they're airspace.
There you go. They're not glued.
On that one, it's airspace.
They're not glued.
But I'm trying to think how. I mean, I guess just from 2 years of using it, it's just
okay. So it's 2 years of use. For me, working in QC long enough and in the telescope industry, from what I've seen is there's spacers. There's little spacers or wedges in between each lens cell. They have to be there. You can't have glass on glass. You're going to have eventually during shipping they'll mar up, they'll scratch, and then you just ruined your whole lens cell. So there's individual lenses or wedges, and during transportation it never fails. And we've dealt with customers, or I've dealt with customers that are freaking OCD neat freaks. They're like, I want to make sure it's clean. I can't promise you that it'll be clean by the time it leaves here.
Yeah, I feel your pain on that, because not even that. I mean, we spoke about this 2 weeks ago on having a clean room and a static-free room and all this stuff and gloves and like suits and everything. Nobody has this unless if you have like some sort of glass making clean room. And
exactly.
When you're cleaning stuff,
and that's
I had the same customer like you had that literally like made me re-clean the optic like 4 times. It was clean.
There's no way to get rid of all the dust unless
it's impossible. It's a
multi-million-dollar room to get it clean. The problem is once I seal
one thing. Yeah, cleaning streaks is one thing which you could get. Now, dust bunnies, it's not even the dust bunny. It's like those little like floating specks of dust. I mean, those dust bunnies they're not really big ones. They're little tiny guys, and they just land. They land on glass. They land on glasses. They land on drinking glasses. They land everywhere that can attract the dust because the dust particles are charged. So they're going to get attracted.
If you take a decent calibration flat, it doesn't matter.
You're right.
You don't see it. Visually, you'll see it. But if you take a good flat, you won't have to see it, so it doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm telling you right now. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. The people are more anally retentive for visual aspect. They're like, it's visual. There is a specific telescope that we have in our possession. It's the biggest refractor known to man. I think it's 126 millimeters refractor. Well, no, let me take that back. It was an SCT that someone literally went up to and shot with a 45 caliber pistol into the corrector plate.
Nice.
You cannot see it visually. You cannot see the bullet holes looking through something in an object. You can't see it. Wow. So that is a testament of, it doesn't matter what the hell's in front of the lens, you're not going to physically see it because it's going to look past it. Yep. You can't see it. Yep. Even if you're doing astrophotography, you take good flats and biases, they cancel it out. You don't see it.
Sure. You know, so and I'm telling you right now. Yeah, no, I'm not nitpicking, but no. I think I
mean it more towards everybody.
oh, sorry. but it's like all the pictures, and people have seen my pictures, and you've seen them, and I don't see, and all those pictures were being taken with all that crud in between the two elements, or the three elements, and it was just shocking to me that there was so much there, and that because the flats were decent, I never saw any of that in my picture until Tyler flashed a flashlight onto it.
I don't see it.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is, between point A to point B of travel, it could have gotten in there, and you never noticed it. I mean, that was a pretty big hunk of whatever.
Yeah, I'll tell you right off the bat, that wasn't like that when it came to me, because I looked at the optics. Once I put it on the scope, once I put it on the mount, and I never really looked at it again, pictures were coming out good, so I look at it.
Well, and so like Mark had an issue with a Skywatcher flattener. And well, same thing. Dust between the elements in his flattener. He went round and round with them, and they're well. It ends up, we haven't gotten the full justification, but it looks like it's an actual gouge in one of the pieces of glass.
Because it happened during manufacturing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they tried to deny it. He went, circled it, pointed it out, like, it's right here. You can see it with the naked eye. Yeah. You don't even need a magnifying glass.
It's at that point, if it's a brand new optics that literally came off the container and someone initially bought it and there's an issue with it, it's a manufacturing defect. It's null and void. You can't fix it. There's a new one.
We're just waiting for that to happen.
It eventually will happen because I know Mark and he's persistent like a gnat around your face. Love you, buddy. But no,
how the dust getting.
So if I can circle back to what I had talked about a little bit ago.
Yeah.
My solution for the counterweight.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell is that thing?
It is a T-bar. Let me go to a single shot of me.
Was it an ADM spacer bar?
Well, it looks like that, doesn't it?
It is.
But it's actually, so you can put a T-nut in. The T-nuts are really small. So it's got a little groove in it. As you can see against my pasty skin, you can actually see the shape. And it's got a 1/4-20 hole in it. You can get them with different threads and stuff like that. But they go in the track, and then I can mount. It doesn't move. I can adjust it in and out. As you see, it comes out quite easily. Tighten it down, and I can adjust. Taking weights off. This is a 200 gram. I have a 100 gram. So I have two sets of these, a 100 and a 200, for each of my scopes, so that I have it there as ballast. Nice. And then I can add any combination to create better ballast.
And so that goes onto the side of the ASI Air? Lost your audio again.
Sorry. I can mount it directly into the ASI Air with the 1/4-20 end.
Oh, so just the weight?
Yeah, just the weight. Not
that bar?
No, the bar is if I need more ballast to get it further away.
To get it further out.
Then I can take and put a couple of T-nuts in here, run some screws through the plate into here. Hex screws. And then I'm done. I can take and adjust in and out. I can, once it's in there, I can move wherever I need to get that weight to get the balance right. And then if I need to, I can pull the weight, the entire bar in on the plate so that I can get it so I don't have a ton of weight hanging off to the side. So I can loosen and move all this stuff back and forth. I actually bought one that's just a quarter of this. As you see, there's 4 rails. So I bought one that's just 1 rail. So they're not cheap. It was like $40 for a 4-foot rail.
Wow.
But this is what I'm using, and all it is for like the crane cams for the action cameras. It's just additional ballast weight.
I got a little excited. I get a text message that got me a little excited.
I know. I was wondering how long before you read
that. So let's. We're encroaching on our closing statements.
Yes.
Pros and cons for full frame and APS-C size sensors. My opinion, full frames work better for longer focal lengths. Longer meaning more than between 800 to 1,000 or plus. So if you're using an RC with 2,000 millimeters of focal length, I think a full frame would benefit you because you can actually use the full frame capabilities, and you will probably have to deal with vignetting. It's just, it is what it is. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But you can use the full region of interest instead of return on investment. Man. You can use all of it to get to actually optimize the full sensor itself, which is what you want from a full sensor. But I think, again, you would optimize it effectively with a longer focal length telescope. With APS-C size sensors, you can use shorter focal lengths, anywhere from 400 to 1,000, which is a huge broad spectrum of focal lengths. But what the best part is, you can change the region of interest or bend it to optimize it as well to get whatever you want into frame, like Thor's helmet, Leo's triplet, Crab Nebula, Sombrero Galaxy, Andromeda's Galaxy. It's a little iffy unless you're around the 400 range. You won't have to really mess with the region of interest. Again, a region of interest. I hate that word.
At least you're not saying region of investment.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's my opinion. Now, these gentlemen will probably have a different opinion because they all have different aspects. That's the whole point of this broadcast or vlogging, whatever the heck you want to call this thing, is we all have opinions, and they smell like buttholes and they all stink.
Oh, you cleaned up my line.
There you go.
Eric, what do you think? You got any comments, questions, concerns, anything of the sort?
No, not right now. As far as full frame versus APS-C, but
APS-C.
Yeah, APS-C. For me, right now, like I said, I'm sticking with my 4/3 and my 1-inch. I won't ever have that problem. And I use 2-inch filters anyway on all of my stuff, so I never have to worry about vignetting or anything like that. But I do agree with my statement before. I'll go back to it. Is for me right now, I will primarily, if I do get a full frame camera or borrow one or anything like that, I'm probably going to solely use it for Milky Way, for landscape astrophotography, at least for right now.
Correct. Correct.
So yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see anything for me, anything I would have to worry about. But for me personally, but this is also the time where I'm also going to start. I cannot wait. Hopefully next week I'll get that precision part, and we can finally get that 152 up on that CEM 60 mount, and we can take it for a spin just in time for Galaxy season. So I'm really looking forward to Galaxy season with this guy. So,
yeah. Dan, what do you think? Closing comments, concerns?
Precise parts, I think they cut me off. I don't know. They're not answering my phone calls. I'm like hiding emails. I'm making new email accounts so they don't know it's me. And they're not answering me at all. Ashley over at Precise Parts has not been answering. It's like they don't exist. It's crazy. But
do I need to call them?
You know what? If you can get through to them, feel free. Order. I'll tell you exactly what to order because I can't get in contact with them. And I'm done trying, and I'm just gonna take my Moonlight and I'm gonna put it back on the 80.
You don't have an
I don't have guys.
An 80mm. You don't have an Esprit 80mm. That's just what it is. It's an Evo Star.
Don't start me, please. Although I gotta say that Prima Luce is going to be making and finishing up the line finally. We got confirmation that they are going to be finishing up the line of the Esprit for the adapters for the 2-inch Asada. So they're going to be finishing that. So, for the meantime, I'll be using my Moonlight for the 80, and I'll have the 3-inch Asada for the 120. And they do have the adapter for the 120, so I won't have to worry about that. But
only fits
going
the
back
Star
to the topic, what's that?
But it only fits the Evo Star 120.
Yeah, you know what? Now I'm gonna have to buy an Evo Star. But
oh God!
I'm gonna have to downgrade the scope to an Evo Star.
Hey, that's what's available.
Jason, questions, comments, concerns.
Anyway, so going back to the difference. You want to talk about full frame cameras?
Yeah.
You're looking at one right now. I use it just for the show. I don't use it for astrophotography at all. I use it for blogging, and it's a great camera, and I use it for terrestrial just like Eric does. If I actually did and had the skies to do wide field Milky Way shots, I would use this to do that. It would be a great camera to do it. You'd have a nice big, you'd have so much surface area on that chip. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's going to sit right on my glide gear with my teleprompter and until either I get down to a Bortle 5, which is not going to happen from around, or I move. So that being said, that's that. I love my 4/3 camera, and I think I have the smallest chip of the group. I do.
I have the smaller chip than you because I've got the 533. Which is
yes, you do because you're just a square. You're just a square.
But see,
that's all.
He thought what he had was a full frame camera or an APS-C size sensor. For the longest of time, he thought.
Yes, I thought that, and in all fairness to me, if you go on the SBIG website, it does say it's a full frame CCD chip. Now, maybe it was.
I need to see that link.
The Kodak 8300 was actually made back 35 years ago, but it's still a great chip, and it's one of the best CCD chips out there. And it's somewhere in between because like 19.3 by 17.96. It's some weird aspect ratio, but yeah. I love it. I think it's great. The 36mm fits for it, and I love it. So it'll work until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Jason, comments, concerns about today's?
I've already said my piece about the, I'm a big fan, of APS-C, because it's the best fit in current market, and for me, even buying the chipset now, there's going to be newer chips down the road. So to me, I would kick full frame down the road until such time it's more universally supported, and buy into it at that point. And the thing is, there are going to be enhancements between full frames now and full frames from 5 years from now, unequivocally. Sure. But you can pick up the full frames from today for considerably cheaper 5 years from now, and they'll work perfectly fine. So, no point in having to do it now. Yes, there is a benefit. Yes, you will get way more megapixels. Yes, you'll get way more resolution. That's all fun. That's all fine and dandy. And if that's what floats your boat, by all means, pursue it. But for me and my cost point or my price points, APS-C is the king right now, and we're getting ridiculously large megapixel in the APS-C realm at the moment, and it's set to get better. Sony just announced 2 new chipsets that are currently full frame, but there's a APS-C contingent that'll be released here shortly. It's going to be like 60 megapixels on an APS-C sensor. It's insane.
Crap.
Yeah. So it was a 120 megapixel full frame sensor that they just released that I believe is going to be in the new Z9 that they just announced from Nikon yesterday. So it's...
I know what new camera I want.
Innovation.
Oh no!
Innovation. Gotta love it.
But
that's the thing, is they're constantly changing sensors every other year.
Well,
there's something bigger and better.
And
Have
Sony,
you seen QHY's $50,000 camera?
No.
I have.
Have you seen that thing?
It's a freaking ridiculous monster.
It is. It's literally water cooled.
Yeah. Yep. I actually saw it.
Which would almost have to be at that point.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out. Y'all keep talking amongst yourselves until I find it.
So, I mean, Tyler was all giddy. For those of you who don't know, I decided that I'm going to go ahead and pursue moving towards getting the 140 that he's offered me. So I've listed my 102 for sale and just sold it to a lovely gentleman in Ohio that has been salivating for a 102 ED CF for a couple of years, and with the latest stimulus check and some other stuff, his wife gave him the green light, so he's buying my scope.
Hey.
So
There you go.
selling it moonlight adapters and everything because it all fits with that particular outfit. So I'm sending it all off as a package. So
Nice.
it gets a new home.
That
And
check going to help me get my Sky Shed pod.
did you end up pursuing the one that you were gonna pursue?
Robin gave me the green light. She's going to let me get the Sky Shed pod. Don't know exactly when, but she said I can get it this year. And I was actually looking at the Sky Shed pods, and there is an add-on. It's called the PTZ, or the Zenith table that slides back.
Yep.
So you can actually see Zenith. So I'm gonna grab that add-on because you can actually roll back. So it almost makes it kind of like a roll-off. So you roll off the dome, and then you can roll it back on and click it back on. So yeah, and I think I'm probably gonna get. It's either 2 or 3 bays. I don't need the huge 5-bay thing. I don't need that that much. But it was kind of funny because at one point I was actually, somebody in New York, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, you were saying. Yep.
Was like, just as it was trying to give one away. So I was trying to grab it, but that all fell through. I don't know whatever happened with it. But yeah, no, Robin has been really cool about this and says, yeah, I can go ahead and get it this year. So it may not be until closer towards summer because I've got to build, I got to get specs. I got to build a platform, a deck or something like that so I can put it all on top of it.
I'm just saying, Explore Scientific sells pulsar domes. And don't you know someone that works there? They can get you a deal.
Send me a link. Send me a link. Send me a link.
So I'm going to screen share real quick, just so the medium format. Now, granted, this is
there it is, the 411. Yep.
It's a 411. It's a 150 megapixel scientific camera.
Holy cow!
It is
ridiculous.
Full frame,
and it's on extended back order.
And it's on extended back order, yeah.
Well, it's only on extended back order because that means that when you order it, they figure out how many people they got to get in line to build it.
Okay, so look, it comes with a USB 3, a water-cooled ability. It looks like 2 power ports, and maybe a Wi-Fi antenna.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
It's got a 50 KE to an 80 KE under extended mode. This thing...
And it has an additional... I don't know if that's a data port or an additional power port, that 4-pin at the bottom center.
Oh, up here?
No, bottom center.
Oh, right here? Yeah. That's probably for the with QHY filter wheel.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Daniel's
probably the filter wheel.
Dan's right. It's probably a filter wheel. That's the only QHY is the only company that offers a kind of a weird port for a filter.
Yeah, it's annoying as hell.
Which I'm waiting for Mark Ellis to buy this camera.
He's gonna be like, oh man, I gotta have that.
Gotta have that camera.
Nobody else got it. I need it.
He won't order it until it's in stock.
No kidding. It'll never be in stock. It's a pre-order item. So guys, I appreciate the show. I think that wraps it up here as far as for beginner basics for full frame and APS-C size sensors.
Yep.
Mark Ellis says,
I'm curious to know what. Yeah, I'm curious to know what next week's episode is going to be. Maybe we can talk about a little bit about the. Dan's going to have to help me with this. The sky thing.
Southern Sky Challenge.
You're really breaking it down well.
Southern Sky Challenge. Man, I'm getting really good at the charades.
The Southern Sky Challenge.
The Southern Sky Challenge. Yes.
I pay attention real well. Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, we could definitely do that. I know that more data has come through, and I'm wondering if it's as good or worse than the last ones, because the ones that happened on the first run, I'm waiting on an answer on what happened to that, because the stars in the corners were not, if you were watching the show 2 weeks ago, the stars in the corners were not as pinpoint as we would like. It looked like that there could have been a spacing issue. Don't think it was a tilt issue, because it was in all four corners, pretty much equally. So, I'm waiting for an answer from Mark and Alex on why they were like that. And if the pictures weren't good, it's okay. They will give us credit on that and refund us the pictures, and we could take more data. It's just going to take us longer to gather the data.
Right.
So hopefully we'll have some decent data up. Hopefully by the 15th or so, I think, if the schedule's on there. For those of you that have received the email, you should have had the email with the password, so you can get in to get the data that's on there. And that's it. We'll take a look at that later, and I'll showcase the best picture next week.
Yeah. Great.
All right.
Great show, everybody.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Great show,
everybody coming in.
Is our closer around, or is she sleeping?
Our closer was not listening to Mommy, so she had to go to bed.
Oh,
That's why I had to step off. I had to redirect her.
So, new closing. I'm just kidding.
Oh my! Don't do that again, please.
I can't remember.
Don't do that again. Don't do that again, please. You're gonna have to get some Austin Power thing color contest in the background.
Spirit fingers.
All right. We good?
I can't remember.
I think we're good.
The closing statement.
Oh my goodness.
I know
here.
it's keep educating. And
keep imaging,
clear
keep
skies,
educating, and clear skies. And until next time, we'll
make
see you on
sure
AstroWorld
everybody
TV.
tunes in next week. Make sure that you keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies, and keep looking up.
There you go. You did it.
You did it.
Night,
Take us
everybody.
out.